and welcome to episode 44. That's 4 of Book Writing Tips, quick tips for new and seasoned authors. And I am your host, Alba Arango. In today's episode, we are going to talk about that fun and exciting thing known as social media. Ooh. And what I want to address today is using social media as an author. Do you think it's necessary anymore in 2026 to have a platform on social media? And if you are dreading the fact that you don't really want to use social media as an author, are there alternatives you can use in place of social media to still market and present a platform as an author? So, with no further ado, let's get down to it and let's talk about social media as an author in 2026. Alrighty then, today's topic will be in two parts as always. In part one, I'm going to talk about social media and using social media as an author. I'll start with telling you how I personally use social media as an author, and then I will talk about how others that I have seen both within the social media realm as well as the writing community here in Vegas, and how I have seen social media used in different ways by different authors. And then in part two, I want to talk about alternatives to social media. And this is if you have social media and you do use social media, some of these alternatives might be a good additional outlet for you to market your book and establish yourself even more as an author in your field. So let's get down to it. Let's start with part one and social media. Now, I personally use social media not as much as an author as I do as, an individual. I have a lot of different interests. So my dog is part of it. I love the dog community on social media. I belong to several groups that involve dogs and pets in general. And I enjoy hiking. I love hiking. I follow several different hiking groups. And then, of course, I'm an author and I love to write and I love to read. I'm a reader as well. So I actually follow several different kinds of groups on social media. And so I made the decision a while ago that my social media page would be about me and my different interests. So I don't focus on just being an author on my personal and even my professional social media. In fact, the only professional social media I have is my Facebook author page, and I will talk about that a little bit down the road. But just so you know, for me, that's how I personally use social media. Now, that is me. That is not most authors. In fact, you will find 1,000 authors and 1,000 varying opinions on how to use social media as an author. So let's talk about how to use social media as an author and different avenues you can use. So if you're already a successful author, then this isn't really an issue for you, right? If you are James Patterson or Stephen King, you can use social media however you want. You already have the following. Stephen King often uses it to promote his, social politics. And if you follow Stephen King, if you followed him on Twitter, if you follow him on, I think it's Blue Sky now, you would know exactly where he stands on pretty much every political issue. And then, he also promotes his books and his writing as well. James Patterson, very different, right? All his posts are generally about his books, when they come out, what they're about, when you can see them in paperback, when they come out. That's pretty much all he posts about. And so very different, right? Very different, and both very successful authors. So even successful authors have differing opinions about how to utilize social media. But for the rest of us, up-and-coming authors, this is where you kind of have to make your decision. And it is very individual, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for someone else. So you kind of have to make the decision of how you want to use social media. Now, if you are writing nonfiction and you're going to be pitching to an agent or a publisher, for you, social media can be a huge benefit to establish yourself as an expert. And I'm going to explain what that means. Yes, anyone can post on social media. That doesn't make you an expert. However, let's say you're a therapist and you're writing a book about mental wellness, and you're going to be pitching to an agent, you're going to be pitching to publishers, and there are probably 1,000 other authors that will be doing the exact same thing, pitching a book about mental wellness to these same publishers, these same agents. So how to make yourself stand out social media can actually be a really huge benefit to you if you are writing nonfiction, because you can use social media to gain a following. And it's not fast. You're not going to be joining, TikTok today, and by next Monday, you've got a following of 20,000 people. It doesn't work that way, but it can build. And for you, I would even say TikTok and YouTube are probably the best ones for you, because what you can do is you can do just really short, maybe 50, 60-second videos. They're called shorts on both TikTok and YouTube, up to 60 seconds. And you can just do a quick tip about something about mental wellness. And if you post, say, 2 or 3 of them a week, you will start to see your growing fan base, and it will grow, and it may not grow super fast, but it will grow. So if you're thinking in another year, your book will be, as organized you can, you've got your notes, your research and all that done during this year, start posting these little tips and you'll start gaining a following. So then when you start pitching to agents and publishers, not only do you have, well, I've been a therapist for 10 years, I have this and this and this, you also have a social media following of, say, I have 2,000 TikTok followers. To an agent and a publisher, for that very specific niche that you have, 2,000 followers could translate into 2,000 sales. So they're really going to see, since you're such a niche audience, they are really going to see this as an advantage for nonfiction. Now, fiction is a kind of a different story. You can't exactly, present yourself as an expert if you're, writing your first urban fantasy book. You are not an expert in writing urban fantasy. It may feel like it because you've been writing it for 10 years, but that does not make you an expert in writing urban fantasy. Now, if you have successfully, published a urban fantasy book and it's hit the New York Times bestseller, well, now you may already have a fan base that's willing to follow you. And if you start promoting yourself even more, then yeah, you've got it. But if you're like the rest of us and you haven't quite hit that New York Times bestseller yet, for the rest of us, you have to kind of find your fan base on social media, and that can take a bit of time. So different places you can find your fan base. You can follow different groups that are associated with your niche. So if you write romancy, or if you write romance or cozy mystery, you can join as a reader, and you can join all these different groups, and then you can become a part of that group. And then, when you're getting ready to publish your book, you've already established relationship with these people on social media. And now you can actually start saying, hey, I have a book coming out, and you probably already have a fan base because they love to hear you talk about romancy books. And now you're about to publish a romancy book, and the chances are pretty high, if you've been engaging with them, that they'll probably buy your book. So that is a great place to actually find some fans, and that is in it. But you have to engage. You have to be commenting. You have to comment when people comment to you. You have to be commenting. And I don't mean as an author, I mean as a reader in these reading communities. Now, the writing community is a whole different world. The writing community is literally a group of writers that you see them all over. My favorite one that I actually belong to is on Threads, and it's actually writer threads. And it's a huge community, and there is a lot of people on there, and they're all writers, and they're so supportive. If you write there like, oh my gosh, I wrote 300 words today. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's more than I've written. You get these comments that are like, good job, keep going. And it's such a supportive community, and that can really give you a boost as a writer. But also, if you are engaging with this community and you continue to engage with this community, when you're ready for your book to come out and you put it out there, a lot of the people you've been engaging with, you notice I've said the word engaging a lot there, because if you don't engage, then you may as well not do social media, because engagement is where it's at. You need to be liking, you need to be commenting, you need to be following. This is how you gain followers and how you gain engagement and how you gain fans on social media. Now, the one thing I do have to warn you about, and that is, don't self-promote all the time. If you're just on social media to self-promote, and that's all you're doing, you aren't going to gain a fan base because you're not contributing. All you're contributing is that you're self-promoting yourself. So back in the day, they used to say, hey, if you do social media, maybe 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 of your posts should be self-promotion. So the rest of them should not be self-promotion. And I agree with that. I mean, you've probably seen people on social media like that too, and all they do is promote their book. Or even if you go to a party and you're talking to people and all they do is promote their book, you lose interest in that. And it's the same on social media. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now let's talk very quickly about the different forms of social media. TikTok Book Talk was super, super ridiculously popular during the pandemic. It has since kind of mellowed out. It's still very popular if you write YA, even more specifically YA fantasy. Oh my gosh, Book Talk is all over the place. They love the young adult fantasy. And then you do kind of see a lot of romance as well. If you write any other genre, Book Talk is not what it was during the pandemic 6 years ago, even 5 years ago. So that may not be like your avenue for that. But again, if you're writing nonfiction, doing those quick 60-second tips can gain you a following on TikTok, and that can be your avenue. YouTube is very similar. If you're going to just do self-promotion videos, don't bother doing YouTube. They do not want to see that. But if you have advice, if you're nonfiction and you're an expert in something, again, doing short videos, like if you're writing a book on, how to renovate your house, doing short little videos like how to change a light fixture or how to put in a shelf or something like that, that's a short video, and you do enough of these, you will gain a following. Might be slow, but you will gain it. Instagram is probably the one that you will see pretty much if your target audience is anyone under the age of 35. So if you're writing YA, if you're writing if you're writing romance, if your target audience is women between the ages of 18 and 35, which is a lot of romance readers, then yeah, Instagram is probably the one where you want to focus your time. Facebook, I'm just going to tell you right now, unless your target audience is people over the age of 35 or 40, and more specifically women over the age of 35 or 40, you are probably not going to get a presence or a very big fan base on Facebook. The younger generation, I think of my own family, the people who are on Facebook in my family is like my mom, she's 88. Me and my sisters were in our 50s and 60s, but all of my nieces and nephews, and they're like, age 41 down to age 30, they are all on Instagram, and they don't even post that much on Instagram. They are posting stories. If they're even on social media at all, which for some of them is not very often anymore. So I am telling you, anything under the age of 35, Instagram, forget about Facebook. It's probably not where you want to spend the bulk of your time if you're trying to build a fan base for your author presence. Threads and Twitter. Twitter had a huge writing community, and then it kind of abandoned Twitter and went to Threads. It's a very popular community on Threads. You can follow like Jane Friedman. You can follow a lot of people on Threads. You can follow me on Threads. In fact, all my links to all my social media there because I use all of them. I don't focus on any one. I focus on kind of all of them. But again, remember that as for me, my social media is not, really strong as far as author goes. It's more about me and who I am as a person. And I like it that way. And that's the way I'm going to keep it. If you are nonfiction, for you might want to focus on LinkedIn. That tends to be the professional one, as well as TikTok and YouTube. So depending on what you write is what we want to focus on. Now, I was at the Writers' Conference in Las Vegas last year, and I remember there was a panel of agents, and one of the people asked, I know I've said this in previous podcasts, how important is social media to you as an agent? And the agent talking said, you know what? Not at all, because I don't do social media. So I don't care. I'm not going to go look and see how many followers you have. It's just not, I want to see how does your book stand out from others. So again, it depends on the agent, it depends on the publisher. But if you are not interested in social media, you find it stressful, it's too hard for you, then let's get to part 2. And we're going to talk about what are some alternatives for you in social media. But before I get to part 2, let's get to the crazy law / writing prompt. And if you're new to this series, every week I give you a crazy law, and this is a real law that once upon a time was a law in history, and your job, if you wish to do it, is to write a short story based on that law. And it's kind of just a cool way to flex your writing muscles and give you a break from your work in progress. So here we go, this week's crazy law. Florida school law forbids the transportation of livestock in its school buses. And oh my gosh, I can already think of like 5 different stories that I could write with that law, but we got to get to part 2 because this is getting a bit long. Here we go. Alternatives to social media. If you really just do not want to do social media, you just don't want to do it. It's too much. It's too hard. It's too time consuming. It's a time suck. It's stressful for you. Then here are some alternatives to kind of gain you some fans, gain you a little bit of something that you can use when you go pitch to your agents and publishers. And also if you're self-publishing, a way to get yourself out there. First and foremost, and I have said this many times, as an author, you need a website. You need a website as an author. That's just it. Every agent, every publisher is going to tell you you need a website. It doesn't have to be an ever-changing website where you post something new every single day or every single week. It can be a static, evergreen, where you have your bio and about your book and your links to where you buy it. Just a presence on. So if someone Googles your name, your website shows up in the Google search. That's what you want. So you need to have a website. And I'll get into how to make a website in a different podcast. Now, the next thing, and a lot of people, including like Jane Friedman will say this as well, your author newsletter, if you don't want to do it, I would strongly advise you to reconsider. Most authors consider more than social media, their newsletter is their fan gold. That is their gold. Because social media, for those of you who don't know, the algorithms in social media usually only push your post out to about 10% of your followers. So if you have 100 followers, about 10 of them are going to see your social media post initially. And depending on how they engage with it, if they engage with it a lot or if they don't engage with it at all, it determines whether they keep promoting it to more of your followers. So you may have 100 social media followers, but only 10 are going to see that post. And if only 2 respond to that post, like it, they may not know, no more of your followers may see it. If 9 of them respond to it, it's a really cool post, then, this algorithm is going to go, hey, we're going to expand that. Whereas your newsletter, most people who sign up for a newsletter are going to check their email because that's one of the things they do is they signed up for it with their email. And when they see it, they will probably open it. You are much more likely to have engagement with a newsletter than you are on a social media. So that makes your newsletter gold. So I've done another podcast on newsletters, so you can go back and look at that. I will do another one in the future because newsletters are that important. But that is another way. I mean, if you go to an agent publisher and say you have 2,000 people that follow that signed up for your newsletter and are actively engaged, like you have a 70% open rate, that's a lot of potential sales. So that's going to be to your advantage. Even if you do social media, that's going to be to your advantage to have a newsletter. In-person events is another one. And I know that us, we authors are so introverted, but this is a good way to get your name out there. And it doesn't have to be a huge social gathering. It could even just be as simple as a book club. Let's say you write romance and you find out that your local library has a romance book club and you just start going to that book club. Not as an author, as a reader. You read the book, you engage with them, and then you have these people who are now going to be your fans so that when you do put your book out there, you've already got these guys and they are going to tell their friends about you and your book because they're going to buy your book. So this is a place where you can gather some fans there, but I mean any in-person event that has to do with book writing, that has to do with the books in your genre are going to be good. Conferences are a good place to network as well. Another place, you could be a guest. Once you've got your book out there, you can be a guest on podcasts. You can be a guest for bloggers. Bloggers and podcasters that do interviews are always looking for people to interview. They have to put out one a week or they've got to put out one a day or whatever it is that they do, and they need people. So you can go to podcasters on Facebook, or you can go to, do a search for bloggers about whatever, genre you write in. Find the blogger, write them, and just, send them a quick message and say, hey, I wrote this book and I'd love to be a guest on your show. That's all you have to do. And if you find 5 of them and they agree, 2 of them agree to it, all their fans will be exposed to you. And that is a way to gain exposure without the stress of having to do social media every day. Now, please, 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 if any one thing you are doing becomes too stressful for you, if it's, oh my God, I can't do these TikTok videos anymore, or oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore, you need to take a step back because it can be overwhelming. Marketing as an author is overwhelming. And when you get too stressed, it's bad for you. So take a step back, focus on your writing for a while, and then get back into it. Now, it might be hard to get back into it, but you really are going to have to do some kind of marketing. Just find the one that works for you in a non-stressful way. If it's a once a month newsletter, then focus on that and stay true to it. I have a once a month newsletter that I have been putting out since 2015. It has now been 11 years that I've been putting this newsletter out. I don't stress about it. I do it once a month and I love it. And I have gained followers and gained followers and gained followers. followers, and that is a way to do it. Non-stress. I also do social media, but again, I do more than just my author. So it is not stressful for me. It is something I enjoy. And that is a big part of all of this, is finding the ones you enjoy doing that you don't get too stressed and hate doing. All right. I know this was a long one. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I hope you have gotten at least a little bit of insight. And if you have any recommendations or suggestions of things you would like to see, please email me, alba@albarango.com. You could put something like podcast interest or podcast suggestion in the title. And so I know what I'm looking into when I open it. But until next week, remember, I drop a new one every single week. So please, please, please hit that like button, subscribe, and have a beautiful and safe week.